Hi everyone, my name is Zia and I'm the dental school coach. Today I have an amazing guest with me. Her name is Navi. She just got accepted to 4 dental schools and she will be attending ASDO this coming July. Now in this interview, she goes in details about her journey to dental school, taking the DAT, writing the personal statement and the secondaries, and doing the interviews. She goes in details about the schools that she interviewed at, so I want you to pay attention to the schools that she talked about. She also discusses what a woman should wear for the interview. She also runs a blog. It's called Denthusiast.com. I want you to check out her blog because she plans to blog about her journey to dental school and beyond. She is planning to write about her journey in dental school pretty soon. So without further ado, let's jump right in and let me introduce you to Navi. Hi, this is Zia and I'm the dental school coach. Today I have one of my students with me. Her name is Navi. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Okay. She got into 4 dental schools and she's going to talk about all the process that she followed to get into those 4 dental schools. Currently, she's going to ASDO, which is Arizona State Dental School, and she's going to tell us a bit about all the schools that she interviewed at and what her personal statement writing was like, and also, what are some of the things that you can do right now to become a successful pre-dental at the end of this application season. She also runs a blog, and we're going to talk more about that in detail in this interview, so stay tuned. So go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Navi, and I am going to be a D1 at the Arizona School of Dentistry and Oral Health in Phoenix. I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh in 2016 with a degree in neuroscience, and I am in my gap year right now. So I took a year off to apply to dental school and worked throughout my whole year and applied to a couple of dental schools and chose Arizona. That was one of my top choices, and I'm looking forward to going to dental school in July.
Great. It's only like, what, 2 months from now?
Yeah, it's coming up quick.
Yep, coming up quick. So tell us what made you interested in dentistry. What was that moment that you thought, okay, dentistry is the right thing for me?
I actually, when I started undergrad, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I did want to go into some sort of medical field. I started doing research, and the only position I got in a research lab happened to be at the Pitt Dental Lab. And it was working in the clinics, getting DNA samples from patients so we could match their genotypic profile to phenotypic profile for genetic diseases in dentistry. So that was my first exposure to the dental field, and I really liked working in the clinics with other dental schools and seeing their interaction with patients. And the moment it clicked was when I saw a dental student make a set of dentures or partials for a patient, and the patient really got emotional and said, I've never felt so beautiful. And that's when I realized dentistry is so much medicine, but so much the patient leaves feeling so much more confident about themselves as well. It has a very holistic aspect to it, and I started looking into dentistry from there, and I realized it was the career I wanted to follow.
And that happened right in your first year at Pittsburgh?
It's my freshman year. Mm-hmm.
So after that, what have you done to become a successful pre-dental? Like, what are some of the volunteer activities have you done? What are some of the extracurricular activities that you did?
So I first started joining the pre-dental society, knowing what applying to dental school is, what we needed for like volunteering and extracurriculars and stuff. So that club really helped me out. I was part of an Indian dance team as an extracurricular. I also did a lot of volunteering at UPMC, which is a hospital in Pittsburgh. I volunteered both in an ICU and in the children's dental clinic. So I both had medicine and dental volunteering in there. And then I also did a lot of research in undergrad. I actually worked in 2 labs doing a bunch of different research projects. I just really liked research at that point. And then I also did a couple clubs here and there, like Project Smile, just things to kind of get away from the academic part of school.
Nice. So what was the most defining extracurricular activity that you think helped you out in terms of getting into dental school?
The most defining would probably be my research. I really worked long hours at my research. I really wanted to get published. I was very into what projects I was doing, and I got to present my research at the International Association of Dental Research Conference in 2015 in Boston.
Oh, wow.
So I felt that I really kind of started and carried through with a project that was my own, and other projects here or there, but that was an accomplishment for me.
Great. Research projects are very special. I also had one research published before I finished my undergraduate. So I definitely think research is a great way to,
Mm.
get into dental school.
No, so I started blogging just a month or two ago.
Okay.
So a little after I applied to dental school and got it already.
So what is the blog called?
It is denthusiast.com.
Okay, so I'm gonna have the link below so that people can go to your website and follow your blog because you have had some great blog materials that you're writing. So tell us a bit about why you're writing the blog and what is the purpose of the blog, who is it for, and what are you trying to accomplish with the blog?
Okay. So I started writing the blog because I felt like throughout my journey as a pre-dental student, I really wanted to off balance my all my academic stuff with other things I was passionate about, and that really helped me get through the stress. You know, sometimes it's not easy being a pre-dental student, the studying for the DAT and everything like that. So I made time for stuff like travel and things I'm passionate about, like food and writing, and I like action photography. So I felt
Okay.
that really helped me get through my journey, and I want other pre-dental students to know that they can also manage their time and get through this journey a little easier. You know, you can be creative with what you want to do. The blog is for pre-dental students, but also dental students as I go through my journey through dental school. I don't want to keep it just for pre-dental students. It is a personal blog, so I want to write my journey as it's happening and the blog to grow just as I'm growing. And it's just a place for anyone who is in the dental field, who wants to read and get inspired about anything I'm writing about at the moment.
Great. So what are some of the top or popular blog posts that you have written, and what are they about?
So I do get a lot of comments about my wellness posts. A post I just wrote about was about neuroscience and yoga and how yoga can really help manage mental health issues and stress and anxiety. And it's a way for really managing those symptoms that come along, which can really help anyone that's struggling, you know, in college or with any life issues. A lot of pre-dental students have reached out to me that I personally know that are, you know, a year or two behind on their journey, who are taking the DAT and have liked my post that I've written about how to survive the DAT and stuff like that. It is fairly new right now, so I don't have too much content up there, but I hope to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you go, you'll have more and more content, and I think that's why we're doing this interview so that pre-dentals from both end can see and experience what you have been going through during the application process and beyond, and they can follow you through your journey to dental school.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of go back to where we were talking about application process, and that's what that's why I wanted to introduce your blog here. What did you study, or how did you study for the DAT? What are some of the strategies you have followed? Because the DAT is essentially the most challenging part of doing the application process.
Yes.
And how did you go about it?
Okay, so I knew that I wanted to set aside about 2 months to study for the DAT.
Okay.
So I took a summer between my junior and senior year in order to study for the DAT. From June to middle July, I took the Kaplan course.
Okay.
It was around a 6-week course. It was half in class, half online. There's different versions of it, but I did that version. And about halfway through, I realized it wasn't exactly for me. I know Kaplan can help a lot of students, or it doesn't help a lot of students, so I used extra aids to help me study. Chad's videos was a big resource in my organic chemistry and chemistry. Those are some of my weaker areas in undergrad, so I wanted to really strengthen up on those, and those videos really helped me get a good score on both those sections. And then I also used DAT Bootcamp and DAT Destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did after the 6 weeks of Kaplan, I started strengthening my Chem and OChem with Chad's videos, and then did extra studying with other resources until around the end of July. I also used YouTube videos to help me with my PAT and DAT Bootcamp with my PAT. And from August, all throughout the month of August, I did practice tests.
Okay.
I did all of Kaplan's practice tests. DAT Bootcamp, I believe, has around 10. And then sometimes I would buy other practice tests from other resources. I forget what other resources I used for the practice tests.
DAT Achiever or Top Score?
Actually, I had a Barron's book, and I used the practice test at the end of the Barron's book. I think that was the other one. And then, which practice is the most important part. You know, you can only study for so long. You're not gonna be able to know absolutely everything you need to know. And the DAT, a big part of the DAT is beating the clock. The timing is the worst. It's the hardest part to overcome, I think.
Yeah.
And so practice was a big help for that. And then what I would do in August was I would do a practice test throughout a time practice test throughout the whole day, and then anything I got wrong, I would take that specific section. Say it was if in chemistry, if it was stoichiometry, and I got a question wrong there, I would take DAT Destroyer and do only stoichiometry questions in Destroyer to make sure that what I was getting wrong in my practice test, I would strengthen up on, and that issue would be resolved. So then I would do a practice test every other day, and then practice questions I was weak on every other day for the whole month of August. And then I took my DAT on September 1st.
Okay. And you didn't apply in that year because you knew that it would be too late to apply in September.
Yes.
Okay, I'm interviewing someone who didn't listen to me, and she applied in, I think, October, and she still got into a dental school. So I was surprised, and I was thinking, okay, so you definitely challenged me on this, and you got accepted. So all my hats to you. So I'm definitely gonna interview you to see what have you done differently than other students, because it's really tough to get into dental school if you apply late. What were you doing between the time you took the DAT and you applied?
So I finished up my senior year. Okay. I did all of my senior year classes, graduated, just focused on that. They really helped boost my GPA, excuse me. And then once I graduated, I took a full-time job as a dental assistant. So I did that throughout my gap year. Okay. And while I was working, I was also applying to dental school. I applied as soon as the application opened. I think it was June 1st or 2nd. I did the AdTest application in a day or two. You know, I got my transcripts sent on their way, and I made sure I could get everything in as early as possible.
Okay. So how did you become a dental assistant? Did you have to go to some training, or did you just apply to some dental office? What was the process?
Okay, so I was actually living in Pittsburgh at the time, and I'm from Buffalo. So I applied to positions both in Pittsburgh and Buffalo because I didn't know where I was going to end up living. It was easier to get a job in Buffalo because you don't need a certification in New York State. If an office is willing to train you and overlook that you don't have experience, you can tell them you've done shadowing and you've done volunteering. You've been exposed to dental offices already, so that's a plus in helping you apply. And there are a few offices that were looking for dental assistants and willing to train them, so I did find a position in Buffalo.
That's great, because I think being a dental assistant definitely boosts your chances of getting into a good dental school.
Yes.
And the reason is that you're doing the work. You're basically in the process of seeing the dentist every day, kind of doing the grind work before you go to dental school. So you have some background to relate to the coursework and materials that you're going to be learning. So it's a great way to become successful in your application process. So anyone listening in, definitely, follow Navi's advice in how you can get a job as a dental assistant, even if you have no experience at all. Did you have any experience before?
No, I didn't. I actually, I did a lot of shadowing, which I'm sure anyone applying to dental school definitely has some shadowing, so you can use that and tell the dental office, pay attention in your shadowing. If you're watching a composite restoration, tell them you've seen this procedure done before. You know that what it looks like. I used to take notes while I was shadowing and know that the dentist is now going to etch and bond and light cure now in this procedure, and that really helped. They knew that I knew what was coming, but the details, the instruments I didn't
Yeah,
know, that they were willing to train me. I already had half of their training already under my belt. So,
nice.
mhm.
So, and you've of course done really well in your undergraduate. So, what are some of the challenging courses that you've taken, and also what are some of the dental related courses you've taken in your undergraduate?
Sure. So the most challenging courses actually were towards the beginning of my undergraduate education. I had a hard major. I did neuroscience, and then I had a minor in chemistry,
Oh wow.
and then a certificate in something Pitt calls the Conceptual Foundations of Medicine, which is basically like medical ethics. Um, so what I found hardest were actually my intro bios and intro chems, just because in the beginning of my undergraduate education, I didn't really understand how to study properly and how to study qua- uh, quality wise and not like quantity wise. So once I really figured out good study habits, I saw my grades start to rise a lot more, and I really could tackle on any course that really came my way. So what I found the hardest was really getting over that hump and taking, when you come into college, I thought I needed to take the intro bio, chem, calc, everything at once, follow this linear line. And that was really challenging for me.
Okay.
But once I got over that, everything really just became that much easier knowing how you can learn material that really suits you.
And I want to ask you more about this because I have a lot of students who come to me telling me that they don't have very good study habit, or they don't do very well in science courses, but they still want to be a dentist. And I think it's a very lofty goal when you don't know how to study very well. So what have you done to improve your study habits and the ways that you study for undergraduate courses?
Sure. So I was kind of in that same position too. I really didn't know what was going on. I was always a good achiever in high school. And then coming to college, things just weren't clicking for me. And then I went to a study resource center at Pitt, and they kind of said these are different things you can do to help you learn things better. Some people learn like this, some people learn like that. So I tried different things. I used to just sit and go through my notes, go through slides, just keep reading the textbook over and over and try to memorize everything. And then I stopped doing that, and I started trying to understand material in a way that I first wouldn't forget it. So making like mnemonics and stuff like that. But then I
Yeah.
started doing a lot of practice questions, thinking more analytically. There's in science, I find, there's always a reason for what is happening. It's not arbitrary. So I tried to more so figure out why, if, for example, if we're learning about, cell reproduction, why is this happening in this stage of the cell cycle, And
Yeah.
then you kind of realize, oh, it can't be any other way. So then it kind of like helps you learn um, things and remember them rather than straight from memorizing it out of a book, which then actually leaves your memory after you're done with a test.
Right. And some of the coursework you're gonna have to take in again in dental school,
Hmm.
intro bio stuff, or maybe biochemistry stuff.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that I learned in undergraduate, and I'm not gonna forget it, is that every professor, when they're teaching something, they're always giving you hints in the class. They always try to give you some kind of like pointers as to what they're gonna put on the exam, and that's a really good way to know that study XYZ instead of studying something that's not gonna win the exam, or studying something that's more effective, because what the professors are gonna cover in the classroom are more likely to win the exam. And um,
Yes.
if you're struggling with your undergraduate science courses, definitely take the time to understand your professor better. See when they emphasize XYZ versus ABC, and then take good notes on those points before you try to study the whole thing, because the worst case scenario is that you're going to try to boil the ocean and read the whole textbook. They're not going to put the whole textbook in the exam. They're going to probably put some specific detail that they care about, and they want you to know.
Yeah, about that, I actually found the same thing towards the end of my undergraduate career. I even stopped reading my chapters in my textbook because I realized what is going to be on the test is really what the professor emphasizes in class and in the
Right.
class notes. A textbook is a great resource to go to help further understand something you don't really understand that was said in class. But another thing that I started doing was going right to the professor if I didn't understand something. It's a great way to build a relationship between you and the professor, and you can even potentially at the end ask for a recommendation, which is what I did. I used to go to one of my professors all the time and get help from them. And because of that, I did well in the course, and they also wrote me a recommendation. And the stuff that we would talk about in class, I started making my own outlines. Even though I had my notes, I started, because writing things helps me memorize it more. So I started making my own outlines, and I would even, take an empty classroom when I was studying, and whiteboard all of the material and like pretend like I was teaching a class or something. Because if you can teach someone else the material that you're going to be tested on, that means you really know it yourself.
Definitely. If you cannot teach it to someone else, you don't really know it.
Right.
It's the truth. Next I want to ask you about writing the personal statement. It's a huge part of the application process, and I want to ask you, what did you do to kind of write the thoughts down and getting to the last draft that you submitted?
Sure. Okay. So I started writing a bunch of drafts. I Googled just how to write a dental personal statement. I read some examples. I kind of got a feel for what I should be doing. And I started writing a bunch of drafts and, brainstorming ideas of what I've done, what's been most meaningful to me while I've been on this journey to dentistry, and why I really want to do this and pursue this. And after a bunch of drafts, I wrote full on personal statements, a couple of different ideas. But then I actually did a mission trip to Nicaragua, a dental mission trip in March of my senior year.
Okay.
And then after that mission trip, it kind of hit me, and so I wrote a whole complete different one. So sometimes you can start brainstorming ideas and stuff that's really meaningful to you, but when that writer's block hits, you should. That's a good time to start writing a personal statement, because it's really coming from.
Okay, so what do you mean by that? Like, when the writer's block hit, you should start writing. Like, I think when the writer's block hit you, you're gonna be like stuck.
When it lifts.
Oh, when it lifts. Okay.
Yeah. Because sometimes a lot of people start to try to force it, and that's what I tried to do. I tried to just write a personal statement to write a personal statement, but as soon as I did my mission trip and that writer's block did lift, it kind of came naturally, and I knew that was like a personal statement I wanted to show an admissions committee, and that it was really coming from, the bottom of my heart. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good way to put it. But let's say I don't have the resources to go to Nicaragua or Honduras.
Right.
What can I do as a pre-dental student who are writing the personal statement?
So, if you're on this journey, then something in dentistry, is meaningful to you, and you're going out and you're volunteering and you're doing extracurriculars, there's some part of yourself that's pushing you to do this career, and some drive. It's coming from somewhere. So I do think that you should sit down and just write down everything that is meaningful to you, everything that you've done to get to where you want to be, and kind of brainstorm. Don't be afraid to be creative. It doesn't have to be a cut and dry personal statement. Just be yourself through it.
Did you take any help for your personal statement, or were you just like writing mini drafts of it and just rewriting it?
Once I wrote a couple of drafts and had something that I thought was pretty good, I felt pretty good about, I went to the PIT, my undergrad writing center, and had them give me feedback, not only on grammar and stuff like that, but on content as well.
Okay.
And then I would take those suggestions and kind of fix things here and there. But I started writing it in March, but didn't really have a draft that I was completely satisfied with until around the end of May. So yeah, it
Okay.
took a lot of revisions, but
And I think that's good because you want to give yourself enough time to kind of like know what you want to write about. Some people try to rush it. I know a lot of pre-dentals this year and last year, they have started writing their personal statement after the AdSense application opened up. So June or maybe like after June. So it's a bad idea. So if you're studying for the DAT and you're trying to apply in the same year, make sure you start writing the personal statement early so that you have some time to think about what you're going to write. Sometimes it's not too easy. So talk it through with a friend, with someone who knows about the dental school application process. Reach out to me or Navi. So we'll be able to help you guys out in terms of crafting that personal statement from a personal perspective. All right, so let's talk about the second step, which is getting all those references, getting the recommendation letter in, finishing up that professional summary, and then submitting that application. What was the biggest challenge that you faced in doing that?
So I think the biggest challenge was in the application. I applied to around 18 or 19 schools, and since I applied very early and all at once, all of the secondaries came at once. So I really had to manage, getting those in on time, really spending a lot of time on those. So there was a lot of work to be put in that application to really get it through. But, if you apply to a lot of schools, that does happen. You will get all of those secondaries at once. So
nice. So how did you make the decision of applying to 18 to 19 schools? Because I think it's very normal to apply to that many schools because people just want to get into one dental school or two dental schools and they want to have some options. So what are some of the thoughts that went into your head before you decided to apply to those schools?
So I kind of was coming from the same perspective. I just really wanted to get into dental school. So I looked, I actually bought the AdSense book where it lists all the dental schools and all the stats and everything. And where I made an Excel sheet and I, wrote down the school's average GPA, science GPA, DAT score, and kind of picked schools where I felt like I had a good chance and read the mission statements about the schools and looked into tuition and all those factors, and I made a list of around 18 or 19 where I thought if I got into this school I would be pretty happy going here and I would have a good chance of possibly getting in.
Were you manually doing this or were you like following the ADEA book?
I had the online version of the ADEA book, so I was looking through there and then I would just kind of write down or bookmark the page of the school in the book and then manually write it down if I wanted to come back later to look at it.
Right, because I would not recommend doing it manually. It's
there's
so
a lot
much
of information.
it's a lot of time consuming work. I definitely recommend you getting that book. I'm gonna link it down below so that you can go and buy it. It's on the ADEA website. It's maybe about $40, $50, but it's it's an investment worth taking. In terms of applying to the schools, what are some of the schools that you have applied to? I mean, it's a lot. It's going to be a large number, but tell us like a few of the schools that you have applied to and interviewed at.
So I applied to a lot of East Coast schools. I'm from Buffalo, so I applied to Buffalo, Pitt, Boston, schools like NYU, and I also applied to a couple of West Coast schools like Western University and ASDO, where I'm going, and the University of Minnesota. Temple was also a big one. I also actually looked for clinical experience. I would go to the school's websites and made sure they had a strong clinical program, and so that was one of the biggest things when choosing to apply to a school.
Okay.
So
how did you find out if the school had a good clinical program? Because every school tried to claim that they had a great clinical program, but not every school does. So
right. So
what kind of keywords did you look for?
I looked for things if they did rotations. A lot of the schools I applied to, three of the schools I actually got into, which is the University of Minnesota, Western University of Health Sciences in Los Angeles, and ASDO. They actually do offsite clinical rotations in community health centers where they can see more patients than just one or two patients a day. So I looked for that, which is not common, but a really good thing that schools are starting to do. I looked to see if they did a lot of community service events, how many patients they did see when they do the D3 or D4 clinics, when you start doing simulation,
Right.
stuff like that, how early in your dental school curriculum you start doing that. So those are some of the things I would look for.
Yeah, definitely. If you're confused about what the websites are talking about in the school website, make sure you follow Nabi's advice on how to know what schools have a good clinical program. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be a clinician, and you need to go to a school that facilitates that. So let's talk about your interviewing process. You've interviewed with a few schools. What are the schools again? And let's talk about the schools that you're comfortable sharing specifics with.
Sure. So I interviewed at NYU, the University of Minnesota, Western University of Health Sciences in LA, and ASDO. Once I had gotten into dental school on December 1st, I had a couple more interviews, but I decided not to go to them,
Okay.
which were from Midwestern University, the Illinois campus, and Touro.
Okay. So in terms of the interview, what did you wear? Because I have a lot of female pre-dental students who always ask me, what are some of the acceptable dress that female candidates can wear?
Okay. So I wore a business coat, a black business coat with a matching skirt, which was a pencil skirt, which was just above the knee, so a modest length. And then under my business coat, I wore a long sleeve white button down. And I had a pair of black heels, which were the heel length was about an inch, maybe an inch and a half, but very short heels. And then I also wore skin color tights under my skirt, and then I had a watch, and I think that was my attire.
Okay. So let's jump right in to talk about some of the specific questions that you face in the interview. I know that you can't talk about ESDO because of a non-disclosure agreement, but let's talk about some other schools where you interviewed at. How was the experience like?
Sure. So all of them were actually very different.
Okay.
I'll start with NYU. It was around I had a personal one-on-one interview. It was around 20 or 30 minutes. We talked a lot about the school itself and a little less about my application and a lot about why I wanted to be in this field. All of the school interviews, usually do a tour of the school, and they have a presentation for financial aid and what their program offers and everything like that. So that's pretty standard throughout all the interviews. With University of Minnesota, I had a panel interview, and I was interviewed with two people, and they actually interviewed me for about an hour and 15 minutes and asked me questions that were very situational, actually only situational questions, which were like, tell us about a time where you had to struggle with a deadline that you couldn't make in time, and how did you deal with that situation, and give us an example that you overcome that. So it was a lot of situational questions, and
Right.
you had to pick it up with examples of your extracurriculars and activities that you have done the last couple of years to really show through example of how you've overcome things like that. So that was a pretty tough one because it was very long, but by the end you kind of really get to know your interviewers, and it was nice. And the last one I can talk about is the one at Western, and I also had a panel interview. So with two people, I had about a half an hour interview, and that was a little bit more relaxed. And they had us do a lot more activities with seeing the school, meeting other dental students. They had a longer day planned, and a lot more students at that interview as compared to my others. I usually would be in a group of around 10 students, but Western had a group of 50 students, which was pretty large.
Oh, wow. So
Yes,
50 students interviewing at the same time
yes.
in one room, or is it like,
50 students on that day, but it was one. All of our interviews were one on one.
that's interesting because I had like about 45 students at Pittsburgh when I was interviewing there.
Really,
Yeah, but maybe like 20 students at NYU. It really varies. It depends on how the
it
school
does. Yes,
schedules
at
the
Minnesota.
interview.
Yeah, at Minnesota, it was me and three other people.
That's it.
Yes.
All right. So, what are some of the things that you liked about each school when you're interviewing there?
Mhm. So I really liked the clinics, seeing all the clinics. ASDO and Western had really updated technology, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And I liked how actually all the students or all the schools went very in depth about their programs, so I left very informed.
Hmm.
Specifically for ASDO and Western, I really liked their clinics. For Minnesota, I liked that the school was very into community service, and that was a big thing about providing dental care for the rural areas of Minnesota and how there isn't much dental care out there. So they incorporated that into their curriculum
Right.
and let students go to community health sites and kind of broaden their clinical experience that way. NYU, the school had a lot of students talk to us, which was really nice. We got to really know the personal feeling about how dental school is through the eyes of a dental student, a little bit more than the other schools.
Yeah. I think ESDO and some other schools, they heavily emphasize on having a lot of volunteering and clinical
Hmm.
volunteering experience. I think that that's what drives them.
Yes.
That's what drive those schools. So if you're applying to those kind of schools, like make sure that you have a lot of community service under your belt, or express the interest to do community service work and volunteering work after you graduate from those dental schools. I had a student 2 years ago who also went to Pittsburgh, and he got into ESDO. He had about 2.9 GPA, so I'm really surprised that he got in, and I'm at the same time very happy for him. But he had a ton of extracurricular activities under his belt, and that's what helped him get into ESDO. What was the reason for going to ESDO as opposed to, like, let's say, going to an urban school like Western or NYU?
Okay. So I really was very shocked by how much the program was really tailored to how I saw myself in my career. When I was interviewing and even applying to dental schools, I kind of didn't realize the difference between all the dental programs and thought that I had or would get the opportunity to pick somewhere where I would thrive. And then once I
Right.
got to interview at ASDO and even get into ASDO, I was really happy because it was really tailored to how I see myself in my career and giving me the opportunities to be that person. One of the things that they do is a modular curriculum. So we take our boards after the D1, the first year, and we do every single class in kind of a mod. So we would do like 1 week on this class and kind of do it that way throughout the whole year, and it suits my learning style a lot, so I thought I would do well in that type of program. Their clinical experience was also phenomenal. I really liked how they do offsite rotations, so in your D4 year you get to go to different community health centers around the country, and a lot of students say they see about 5 to 6 patients a day instead of just the one or two, which is really, really amazing and building clinical experience and important when you graduate from dental school. Um, their technology was pretty up to date, and even tuition and cost of living wise, the Phoenix Mesa area was something that I really looked into as a factor, and it was a lot more affordable for me than some of my other choices.
So, how much is it gonna cost you every year to go to ESDO?
ASDO's tuition is around $75,000 a year.
Okay, so that including room and board or just
No, that's not.
okay? Okay, so maybe around 80,000
Hmm.
together. Yeah, compared to like 120,000 for NYU, it makes more financial sense because
Mhm.
after the 4 years, you're gonna have what, $80,000 more loans if you went to NYU. One thing that's really important for you as a pre-dental is to go to a place where you're gonna thrive. So I had a student right before you who
Mhm.
who is going to Penn Dental, and the reason she's choosing Penn Dental is because of number one, the name brand. Also, number two is the fact that they have a heavy emphasis on a specialization, and she
Mhm.
wants to she wants to specialize in something like ortho or oral and maxillofacial
Mhm.
surgery. So if you are like that, I think, and that's a completely different game. You have to choose a school that's doing a specialization versus if your goal is to do community dental clinic work, and if your goal is to go into general dentistry, go to a school that's going to make you a great clinician.
Yes, and even a lot of schools that I went to and I interviewed, and a lot of things that other dental students say is you don't really sometimes you shouldn't go into dental school knowing this is going to be the specialty that I want to go into, and if you do, that's great.
Yeah.
I personally don't know what I want to do, but ASDO had a factor that all of their school or students who wanted to specialize got into their top one or two residency choices. So they did have a great residency match rate if that's what you wanted to do.
Right.
So I liked that I had that option in that school.
Definitely. Again, it's all about where you're going to fit in and where you're going to strive to be the best dentist you could be. So let's talk about financial aid factors. Did ESDO offer any kind of scholarship or any kind of sort of loan reduction program that kind of attracted you?
They don't. They didn't offer a scholarship. I didn't get a scholarship. They have a lot of scholarship options that you can apply through. That's not through the school. I know you can apply through the Army. You can do the national like community service scholarship, where you kind of have to work in a community health center that helps you pay off your dental loans.
Right.
So they gave us a list of a bunch of scholarships that we can apply to, and that they do participate with, so that can help your tuition. And they have a lot of financial aid services that helps you, get loans, figure out and understand your loans. So, which I think all schools do. So
Yeah, I think as a dental student, most of the time you're gonna have to take loans and you have to be comfortable with. I think living with $500,000 loan sometimes, and it's also the uncomfortable truth for a lot of students. I ask this question to many of my successful students because a lot of them are making decisions about where to go and
yeah.
what schools to choose, and sometimes it comes down to the money.
Mhm.
Some schools offer better money than other schools, so
I'm excited to get started. The first year is going to be a lot of science work, school work. But I'm really excited to kind of dive into learning what I'm going to be using for the rest of my career. A lot of undergrad classes is kind of just building your science knowledge, but this is, the meat of the material that's going to really shape your career. And I'm excited to do things with patients and just get into the field of dentistry finally.
nice. And how are you gonna integrate your learning that you're doing in dental school with your blog and with your website?
I think I am going to make it very, it's going to go as, my journey through dental school. I'm going to talk about how I survived these classes, how, hopefully, no, I'm just kidding. But how I kind of survived the world of dental school, and sometimes it can be tough, sometimes it can be great, write about the great moments, and like if I find at one point this is what I want to do in my career, I want to write about that, and a few articles to inspire other dental students maybe on their way to kind of figure out the way through school.
What should pre-dental students do when they're seeking a recommendation letter from their professors?
Okay, so something that I was told to do was make sure you get a recommendation letter from a professor that can very much write personally about you, and that you know very well. Dentistry is such a interpersonal profession that a committee really, an admissions committee really wants to read something that'll tell them even more about you, they can look at your transcript and know that you did very well in this class. But someone who can write for you, this person came to my office hours every week and really persevered and really tried hard. They're very motivated. That says so much more. It says that you go out of your box to really get what you want and achieve. And that's very important for recommending someone who's recommending you to be able to write about you.
Okay, let me do a clap. It's just a way to know where the cut is.
Yeah.
And also like the silence point. If I don't know if you know iMovie, so iMovie has this point where it just becomes like flatline if you're silent, and it jumps up and down if you have like audio. It's crazy. I'm just learning this stuff because I have no idea. And you learn as you go, and I'm sure like you're doing blogging right now. Maybe like later down the line you're gonna start some kind of vlogging with your video showing how the dental schools are like, showing what's your day like and stuff like that. It's very it's kind of good way to become pretty popular within that dental community, pre-dental community. So definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have any question for me?
I don't think so. So it's just going to be this entire video, right? And you're just going to cut it up.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're going to be done with the series, or
So are you asking when am I going to publish this?
Yes.
So within a week, hopefully.
Okay.
The process is usually like I'm going to cut it out, make sure that the cuts are done, edits are done, and then I sent I asked a website to do the transcript for us. So basically, because I do the transcript is it's a good way to get more views and more better search engine optimization. So that when the transcripts comes back, it takes about 2 to 3 days. I don't know where it goes, but it's pretty expensive. It's like $1 per minute. But when the transcript is done, usually it takes about a few days, and then I make sure that the audio is correctly done, the video, the lighting is properly placed. If the lighting isn't done, I try to enhance it before I put on YouTube. So I expect it to go within a week. So hopefully by next weekend, it should be up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you practice general dentistry, or?
I'm not a dentist.
No?
No.
You went to dental school?
I didn't go to dental school. I don't know if you knew my story. I got into Pittsburgh, Penn, UCSF, NYU.
I saw the list on the website, so.
Yeah, I got into all the schools. My mother became really sick on right around the time when I was going to dental school, so I decided to become a consultant instead.
Okay.
It's like the Penn thing. Like I think 70 to 80% of Penn students are either consultants or bankers. So I decided that it's rather easier.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job.
And I mean, look, I like helping people getting into dental school. It's not something that I do for money. I'm doing this like these interviews cost me a lot of time and energy, but I'm doing it because I want to help out. And because if you look around on YouTube, there aren't many videos on how to get into dental school, and like the process of getting into dental school. A lot of students are saying a lot of things on studentdoctor.net, but they're not very good suggestions. Sometimes they're like multiple things, different, coming from different people's perspective, and they're not very consistent.
Right.
So I'm trying to make that gap filled with good advice from people like you who are going to dental school, who already got accepted from different into different schools, and making sure that you guys have a better input into the process.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So what's the plan for your website?
So I am just writing as I kind of go. I don't know exactly what it's going to turn into while I'm in dental school, but I have an idea of kind of just writing through my journey. A lot of things that I do in life kind of, it's all about balance, and I want to be able to balance a lot of things that I like with dental school and kind of show people that they can do that too. I take a lot of yoga classes and fitness stuff. I did it throughout undergrad, and I don't want to lose that in dental school and lose all the other things that I'm passionate about. So I think it'll be a good way to kind of motivate me to keep that balance between the things I'm writing about and motivate other people that they can do the same thing, because really a healthy, lifestyle balance is really good.
There's this YouTube channel. I don't know if you follow it. It's called the Strive to Fit. It's a medical school channel.
Mhm.
You should check it out. She also does kind of similar stuff. I think she was doing weightlifting when she was undergraduate, and then she had a fitness channel, and then
Mhm.
she started doing a medical school channel as well, and that became like the number one
Mhm.
popular medical school channel on YouTube. So it's something you can strive to do, and it's pretty
Yeah.
simple. If
Yeah.
you're looking into that, YouTube or vlogging type of work, it's
Mhm.
it's similar to what you're telling me. Like basically, that's what that's what you're telling me, and I think if you do the vlogging stuff, it would put you at the top of the map. People will know you more.
Okay, yeah. A lot of actually, I used to follow a lot of blogs of people who were in medical school and not dental school, and kind of doing the same thing. Balancing out their other passions with med school, and I found that there really wasn't anyone in dentistry that was doing that, or that I could, follow along. I used to take a lot of things from the medical school blogs and apply them to my life. So I thought I would kind of,
Yeah,
take a step. And I like writing. I like being creative. So kind of took it from there.
great. And also the quickest way to kill your blog is to not have a plan. So make sure you have a
Mhm.
plan, because you're not gonna have much time when you're doing dental school and also trying to blog at the same time. So
Right.
if you plan it out like months ahead of time, you know when to post your blogs. You don't have to post every month, but if you know that, okay, so in 2 months I'm gonna post about the XYZ fitness stuff,
Right.
it makes it much easier, because I know that when I'm working for like 70-80 hours a week,
Mhm.
it becomes super tough for me to like do the videos, and at one point I got so disappointed that I was going to cut dental school coach and just leave, and I was like, I'm going to shut this website down. But then I just stayed consistent.
Right.
And a lot of the videos that people see on YouTube now, I've done them maybe like out of a whim, wasn't any strategy behind them, but they're
Mm-hmm.
they're ranking pretty well. So that's why I started this success series, because I think this could be really really huge, and people want to hear about stories of how people get into dental school. So it's really what people wanted to see and hear, and that's why
Right.
I'm doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
I hope to keep it, I have to keep it up as long as YouTube is up. I hope to have those videos up and running.
Hmm.
All right, so
Hmm.
let's do the ending part. Ending part is basically like, let me thanking you and stuff like that. All right, thank you, Navi, for doing the interview with dental school coach today. It's been a pleasure, and I think this interview will help a lot of pre-dental students who are struggling with how to study, struggling with how to balance their life while being a pre-dental, and also struggling to think of how to study for the DAT properly. So thank you a lot, and I am sure that people are going to go visit your website, and I'm going to link it below down here. Thank you so much again, and all the best on your journey to dental school.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks so much for watching the video. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, share and subscribe so that I can continue to grow this. In that way, I can help more pre-dentals like you to get into their dream dental schools. Alright, thanks for your support, and I hope to see you in the next video.